visit my daughter. Man, that's the most beautiful sunset I ever did see. Woo-hoo. What in the world? That's just, what? That's like some kind of fog or something that way. I'm just outside of Phoenix going towards California. Saddle. Oh, that's the small from Los Angeles. Ain't that close. Man, I saw some beautiful country coming over here. I just love it. Out here in the west. Payson was so beautiful. Arizona, Payson, Arizona. That's crazy. That's the sun, not the moon. Nice trees out here. I am a few miles, I don't know, 20 miles or something like that away from Payson, Arizona. Had a wonderful time visiting with my daughter. We had our Thanksgiving together, and oh my goodness, my daughter made the most amazing chicken and pot roast and everything, just the whole fixins. And I'm on my way back. The sunset was me going down. I just filmed a little of that on the way down, and now I'm on the way back. I want to try and get back sometime late tonight. The puppies are probably missing me. They're there by themselves. And they have plenty of food and water, but I told Buster he was in charge. And so everything will be fine, but You just gotta look at this beautiful countryside here before we go on. I've had a couple days to think about a few things. There's been some beautiful revelations. I want to do some videos when we get back. Tomorrow will probably be a good one. I have a lot to tell you guys about different things. Mary Magdalene and the Templars and how they started America and came over from France and how they conspired to take that out of our history books and stuff. How the capital is at Chicago, where the treasures may be buried. What this has to do with prophecy and what we're going through now. These beautiful oak trees around here too. I love these nice big trees. I noticed all around here is manzanita as well. This isn't the kind of oak tree. I think this is called live oak. Not sure. I lived around them my whole life, but there's 2 or 3 different kinds of oaks, and I think that was the one Dad used to say was a live oak, but because I think it was, they don't lose their leaves or something. I don't know. Like the ones I have on my property, they lose their leaves in the winter. I'm not going to go too far. I wanted to see a view, because man, there was a beautiful view out there on the highway. We're way up in the mountains, and it's beautiful, high mountains. So one advantage it has here, I love this area compared to where I'm at. I mean, the mountains seem a little bit higher over on the coast. You know, even there where my daughter is in California, the mountains are pretty high. Even in LA, you can see the mountains, you know. And that's, California, where you have Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the continental United States. Well, that's where I was born, at the base of that mountain. Of course, that's quite a few miles from here, but Autumn's like, she's got this career going. She's going to be an architect, I want her to be an engineer. Well, she chose architecture. And she's really impressing people. She's already got a job for thousands of dollars, like $100,000 a year or whatever, but she turned it down because she wants to finish her schooling. And so I'm like, well, honey, Christ is coming back before that's all finished. But it'll keep you busy and keep you out of trouble, and I love you. And she goes, well, Dad, when things go down, we'll head to the woods. But she says, if Jesus doesn't come back within 4 years, she wants me to move to California. She's moving to Northern California, where she was born, where I was born, where my dad was born. My mother wasn't born there. My mother was born in 1929, guys, in Kansas. Her name was Dorothy. No, I always do that. She's not Kansas, she's from Nebraska. But she said she always felt like Dorothy from Kansas. There's the manzanita. I talk about this, I've mentioned it. This is just little bitty bushes here. But you get big groves of these. Like up in there's some bigger manzanita. In California, they can get pretty big, about the same. But they usually get a little bigger there. And it's just amazing, the bark. This red bark. Smooth, and you can make canes out of it. I love this bush. I didn't even know they had it in Arizona. I knew it was in California. I love that manzanita. So I said, okay, if Christ don't come back in 4 years, I said, of course you know he is. I do believe we're going to be going into World War III, sweetheart. Okay, well, I'll have my truck paid off. If the world does go on a little longer than I think, I may relocate to Northern California to be near her because I love her so much. Okay, here we go. We're going up. Let's see if we can get up here a little bit and get a view before we go back. But she's like, Dad, you're out there in the woods. You gotta, have all these things. And I'm like, no, I don't need all that, honey. I want to live out in the woods. I said, I don't think I could ever leave this. The only thing that get me away from where I'm at is you. Her. She said, Dad, you're supposed to be, family's supposed to be together. I go, I know, sweetheart. And if the world doesn't end pretty soon, I'll follow you out there. And we'll buy some more property. And do it again. Oh, it's getting pretty. See how far we can go. See if we can get a view. Oh, I love my daughter. She bought me new tinnies and stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't need all this. No, Dad. She's like, you're going to be cold. I'm going to buy you a coat. I said, you don't need to buy me a coat. I got my own money. And she's like, no, Dad, I'm buying you this coat. A real expensive one that I couldn't afford. These shoes, I think, are Reebok or something. Real nice. And she got me this, you've got to have this crock pot. An iron skillet kind of crock pot, you can hang over the fire. She got me one of those. I had to register the vehicle. Oh, pretty. Because I don't want to register. I really don't want anybody to know where I'm at, like the government. So I don't even have an address out there. So I can't register it. So I just registered it in California. Because I only use the truck to go into town and stuff. But it's insured and everything. And I'm on the insurance. Well, of course. But I just have her. I just go down there and just register in California. But it was expensive. And after seeing the price tag, I'll tell you about that one. Maybe in another video. Too long a story. How they gouge you. They say if my truck's worth, I'll just tell you briefly, if the truck's more than 5,000 pounds, you have to pay extra taxes or something. So, we go through this line for 2-3 hours. People all over the place. And all from India. All of them. It's ridiculous. Now I know how, if this voting thing is real in any way, shape, or form, and all these polls, if there is people voting for Biden or whatever, it's these people from other countries that don't know what a country is. They're refugees. People wearing scarves, Muslims and everything running around, which is, I love all these people, but, they're just stealing. And these people are getting free. They're all had to go and pick up Aaron, my daughter's husband, from he teaches at the university. He's a philosopher. We have some arguments, some discussions, him and I, but he's a good boy. But we don't agree. He's a very big liberal, and but anyway, he's like, oh yeah, a lot of diversity, and I'm like, yeah, right. I'm thinking, diversity. It's your socialism that's doing this, and my daughter's like, we got to be good to all the people, Dad. Yeah, but I said, honey, we don't have any money. That's why I paid $500 to register this truck. I said, where do you think that's going? Who gets that 500? From everybody that comes in, it's a truck. So if you have, so we had to go, we didn't know, we got up in the line, 2 or 3 hours, I guess more like 2. Finally get up there, our number's called. Okay, everything's fine. Like $400 and some later. And then she goes, oh yeah, well, now you got to go down and have it weighed. Yeah, but weighed? Yeah. And if it's over 5,000 pounds, however many pounds, we're going to charge you. I'm like, well, how much does a normal GMC weigh? It's a normal GMC. Don't they all weigh the same? She goes, well, it could be modified or something. I'm like, really? What? So, okay. So another 2 hours. We end up in this wind blowing. You can't hardly, about literally blowing us like 60-mile-an-hour gusts. And we had to pull into this truck stop to have it weighed because we didn't know where else to go. That was the closest one. It was 10 miles away. And it's all semis. It's some kind of a truck stop. And there's these big diesels, and they're like, what are you doing in line? And we're diesels. You can't be here. But this is the only place to do it. So I pull up, we get on the scale, and you can't hear anybody. You're like, it's all windy, and our hat's flying off, and Autumn's trying to talk to the lady in the thing. What do we do? No, not what we chew. You know, no, I don't need to poo. What do we do? And it's like, oh, well, just stand back and I'll get to reading and you come in and we'll give it to you. So that was another $20 to get the reading. So then we go, I'm like, now we got to go back and wait through the line all day. Took us all day. And all these Muslims and people, practically the whole town in this California where she's at, is all Muslim and some other, you know, nationalities mixed in, but they're all definitively some kind of they're all getting welfare and free college and free food stamps and free everything. I love them. They're people. But how many of these are terrorists and how many of these are, you know, what's going on? Are they giving them the jobs like doctor and lawyer because we're smart enough that we know that's, you know, the only people that can do it are people that don't care or don't have enough savvy because they were taught socialism and ridiculousness from the time they were born. So that's how come they're bringing them over, because the whole state of California is refugees. So they're going to vote for Biden. They don't know what a Biden is. They don't know what's going on. Lord love them. They literally have no clue. And if they are terrorists, they were probably, you know, recruited by the CIA and made crazy with some sort of radiation weapon to the brain or MK mind control or something. But I don't know. I think there are just sleeper cells all over this country. But man, I haven't been to New York and stuff for a little while. But I hear they're up there and I see it firsthand here. There's hardly any Americans. There's very few. Except for the ones that are brought up in the last 30 years in social setting as, you know, foster care or something. You know, you don't get to go to college on merit. You have to be somebody that is a mindless drone that's willing to do. They tried, like, you wouldn't believe, to get my daughter to do some evil machination. Oh, we'll give you money. Look at all the money you'll make as a doctor. She thought about it. I said, no, honey, you realize you're killing people. You can't do that. Okay, Dad. Well, I'll be a lawyer. I'll help people. I'll do it for free. No, I said, honey, you can't be an advocate in a system like this where it's all illegal and wicked, and you need to protest against that. Anyway, so she decided, okay, I'll be because she already has her master's in philosophy. She could be teaching right now, you know, philosophy or something, or doing whatever else the philosophers do, but she didn't want to be a philosopher. So I said, well, I want you to be an engineer if you're going to do something. You know, if you're going to learn something useful. In the new world, we're going to need engineers, you know? And she said, all right, I'll be an architect. This is where she came up with the dome idea. And she is really doing good. She always does well. She's well loved and liked by all. She's a good leader. And she's always, they always choose her out of all the pack and offer her all the good stuff. And she's always the teacher's pet and all that. She just smiles and gets along with everybody, but she's really authoritative too. People listen to her and they do what she says. She's amazing. It's like she speaks with authority. You know, she has an amazing way about her, even at 30 years old. But, so she said, I'm going to go to school. And if Jesus comes back in the meantime, well, we'll all go out in the woods. But she said, I don't know what else to do, Dad. I have to have some way to make a living. And I said, all right. But just don't listen to all this liberal stuff. And be careful. Be safe. I worry about her driving on the roads down there. 8-lane freeways. Wall-to-wall traffic. I'm just crazy. She got in an accident last week. Her car's not totaled, but it's like $5,000 worth of damage. It's in the shop right now. They gave her this hybrid. The thing is 60 miles a gallon. Amazing. As a rental, or as a, while they're fixing hers. And I'm not going to go too much further because it looks like we could wander around back in there for hours. But it's quite beautiful. There's that tree like we have where I live. I'm only a couple hundred miles from home, but those big ones that I've got in the yard with a little reptilian skin, there's one. So it's a little bit like where I live, but there's actually, that might be kind of oak tree that I have. So I guess they're not getting their fall as quick as we are. Oh, I would like to see some kind of a view. I don't know if I can. But then I was thinking, I'd like to do, maybe it'd probably take 2 or 3, 4, 5, I don't know, probably a couple at least. Maybe 3. Maybe more. Probably 2 or 3 videos to tell you my whole life story. I mean, some of you wanted to know more about my life. I just told bits and pieces up to now in different. I've told a lot, but it's all strung out in lots of different videos. Although I did, man, there's some beautiful rocks here too, but they're really dark color and you don't see them. Mine are red, out there. A lot of outcroppings. I imagine over the top of this hill, the face is probably cliffs, which is why I wanted to go see, but don't know if we're going to be able to. I'm going to be gone too long too. Got to get back on the road. But, I love this manzanita. That's a plus. I love manzanita. It's really a lot like where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, how beautiful. And it's like, just like where I'm at. I think it's more beautiful where I am because we have the cliffs. So anyway, it was hard to leave, but, I'm going to go down, visit her as much as I can. Like this spring, I'm going to go. If we're not in World War III by then, I'm going to probably take a little bit of a camping trip and go looking at a few things. But I wanted to make sure I get some footage of this before I leave here because this is just so beautiful. Yeah, I see some. Look at that. That yucca right there. That's, those ones over on my property that have those big white flowers? Can you imagine how big that white flower was? That's yucca. That's one of the biggest ones. Whoo! I mean, I've seen them. The whole thing is like 10 feet high at the base. Look like a little palm tree. And then those things. So these aren't long here. They're short. But the flower. Whoo! And, yeah, we're getting to some rocks. So I'm going to go a little further before I go back. So I want to do a video on a lot of the stuff that happened to me. It's been a real crazy life. And I kind of want to document some of it, share it with you. An honest history of things that have happened to me, that because you wouldn't believe the things that have happened to me. Like I said, I've told a few of the stories, but miraculous and amazing. And I've told some of the stories about seeing the angel and so forth, but man, there's a lot more I have not really actually discussed. But I think I want to get into a lot of stuff that happened, from the time I was 13, just how ridiculous and outrageous life got at times, and the things that happened. It's just so unbelievable in some ways. But I want to do that, 2 or 3 videos on that coming up next week or so. And somebody sent me, a friend of mine sends me questions from time to time and gives me a video or 2 to watch or something. But a friend of mine sent a question about James chapter 4 and verse 11. You want to go look at it, go ahead and see if you can find an answer for it. See, what you're saying can't be true, Dave. I mean, I know it looks like you're right, but what about this scripture, It's always like, what about this scripture? Until you see it. You got to put your goggles on, right? To see these scriptures, because they're so mistranslated and misunderstood expressions that we're not catching. It's not being translated correctly in the English. And you read that verse, it really, I won't give you the answer here. I'm going to do a video on it. But when you hear the answer, you'll understand. It's perfectly, clear then. But when you read it the way it is right now, it sounds like James is saying we're under the law. In James 4:11. But that's actually the opposite of what he's saying. And we get that same thing, remember we talked about, where he says we were saved by works and not faith, because Abraham had works, not just faith that saved him. And his works were to believe. Okay. Not really the works of law, is it? And then he describes what these works are, works of faith and charity. So that's how people misunderstand. When they hear the word works, they think, oh, works of law. But that's not what he says at all. In fact, he explains it very clearly that that's not what he's saying. So we're also going to explain James 4:11, but I'll leave that for another video. And there's another video I had in mind that I wanted to do. People have been sending me videos. Also, they're real interested in Mary and Magdalene and the whole thing where they're coming over to America. And there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to get into eventually. How Joseph Smith was his father was a master mason, Joseph Smith Sr., and was literally living in the time of Washington and these guys, and was part of this little original group. And Joseph Smith was literally the last of these Templars that came to build the New Jerusalem. And the true knights that were preserving the Holy Grail. And I want to talk about the Ark of the Covenant and things that are buried in Oak Island. And we talked about New York also being called Angolami. And, well, that was what it was supposed to have been called by one explorer that got here before Hudson Bay guy. But it ended up being called New Amsterdam. There's other places like Newport and different places where they landed, Plymouth Rock and stuff. But New York was actually officially called New Amsterdam for years. And we know that these individuals, when they got here, 300 years before the Constitution, actually, let's see how many years, they got here in about, they sailed in 1300. There was one group that got here in 1200, somewhere right around exactly 1200, 1190 years, whatever it was. And I don't remember the exact date, somewhere around 1300 or 1200. And then there's a big arrival at New Amsterdam, where they call New York the New Amsterdam, and they build up New York and they call it New Amsterdam. There's all kinds of maps that we'll talk about that are in extent that tell us, we don't have them clearly, but we have them described, and we have found some of them, the Piri-Reisi map and so forth. They were going all over the world long before the British or the Goths, and who made New York and the York Rite got here. And we'll show evidence that Brigham Young was of a different ilk They were the Illuminati, came in and infiltrated, got rid of George Washington, his crew, Smith. They came from New York. They went through Ohio. And there's a lot of stuff. Like, for instance, do you know how close Nauvoo, Illinois, there was 70,000 people there. It was bigger than Chicago at the time. It was the biggest city in Illinois. And they all came out to see the prophet, and they were sending missionaries to England and to gather all these people were coming to see the prophet. What do you suppose that was all about? Really? See, it's just like what we talked about in France, where all these people were claimed they were all heretics. But they were all the people believed this way. They were all Gnostic. The heretics were the Catholics that were murdering them in the Inquisition. Same thing with America. All the people here in America were the good guys, the pilgrims. And they were the Templars and building up the New Jerusalem. And they were good people. And carrying on the ceremonies that carried on the traditions and the memories of Mary and Jesus. And they had all this wealth that they buried here, and they were going to build the New Jerusalem. But what happened was the devil has swords and fought them. And now it's come down to the swords have been used, but the Lord didn't let them kill all of the good people. Now they're like seed and they're growing up. It's like into the harvest. And we have to get through this on our morals that the Lord has given us, and all that the heroes in the past and the founding fathers told us in the Constitution, and what we've learned about love, what we do know. And we have to decide, make the right decision. This is a great judgment. So I want to talk about how, this Nauvoo, 70,000 people, bigger than Chicago, was only like, 50 miles from Chicago? It's right there. And so when Brigham Young was sent in and Herbert C. Kimball to murder the prophet and bring in this Cochranite doctrine, this New York Rite polygamy, spiritual wifeism, that we hear all the story. And they accused Joseph Smith of doing what they planned on doing. And he's like, I didn't do this. And then they put him in jail, accused him of it. And while he's in jail, to have to prove in court that he already swore in the Bible, right? He didn't do it. His wife swore, all his kids, all the people, the whole church followed after him and trusted him. Nobody liked Brigham. Brigham came in literally and burned down the temple that Joseph Smith built. Had members of his, Illuminati, Goth, Viking, British individuals come in and murder Joseph Smith, and then literally burn down the temple, and nobody had nowhere to go. And here's what they don't tell you. A lot of the people, most of the people, would not go with Brigham Young, and they stayed there. Where did they go? Well, 50 miles away, they went to Chicago. In 1871 or something, they burned Chicago down. Who did that? They're getting rid of the evidence, friends, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, Brigham Young was known for burning a lot of things down, including the temple in Nauvoo. He completely burned it all down and destroyed it and killed the prophet. You don't think he was so angry with Emma Smith, who wouldn't follow him, and his son, and they had absolute proof that his son should have taken over, over the job of seer. And, but anyway, we'll talk about it another time. I'm going to head back. This is so beautiful, though. So there's that, and, a lot of stuff about Mary that people don't know. Friend sent me another video that had some good information. Most of it I knew, but it kind of reminded me of that, and I want to bring some pieces together we haven't talked about, and what they planned on doing, how the woman went into the wilderness, how that all fits with prophecy. Also, I want to talk about Yahweh, because that's been a big subject. I'm going to do a video on this because we talked about Yahweh, what it really means, and how, what's going on here, because, we're going to get lost. Because Yahweh means I am, and Jesus also means I am, and we find out there's two Enochs, there's two Eas, there's two, two brothers, Esau and Jacob. And so what's going on here? Is there two Yahwehs? A lot of the Yahwehs seem to be a good guy. Some of them seems to be bad guys. We talked about how Moses saw his backside. And I want to share with you a little bit more about the Yahweh, how Yah, that's what the Judeans ended up going to, is Yah, and dropping the way. The Yah, or Iyah, is the male part. Remember, he creates light and darkness, good and evil. And so the two sides, in one aspect, is male and female. It doesn't mean evil. Remember, there's no word evil in the Bible. But the woman does mean the conscious mind, the sinner, the initiate, the one who goes down and partakes of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so, in Yahweh's name is the first part, Yah, and the last part, Iwi, or Eva. W and V are interchangeable, so Eve is the last half. So it's the male and female, and all the words are like that. Divine, same thing. Ada, Adim. That's two, male and female. Ada, Dada. And Im is with the M. The M always represents Mary, the mother, Mama. But it's actually the word Ma'im, the sea. And it's used for the word many, or plural, because the sea is many peoples. Many peoples. So you've got Adaim is plural. It's the male and the female. All the words are that way. That's why the Sumerians call him Anu, and the Greeks are or Anu. There's the male and the female, Ra and Anu. And you have this with everything. We'll talk about that. You'll be surprised at how amazing this is, and it'll help you understand why there's two different Yahwehs and some of the stuff that's kind of difficult to. So I got a lot of videos I want to do here in the next week or two. Might be a week or two, because some of these are going to go into a series, 2 or 3 videos for each or something. Maybe a couple weeks or more. And then you know how I am. I'll come up with something else along the way that Lord puts on my heart. We'll do a lot of really great videos coming up. But at least we got some footage of this beautiful area here before we got. Boy, it's kind of hard to walk through here because oak trees and branches. But it's so pretty, isn't it? The rocks are darker gray here. Love it. Alright, we're back to this little trail. Well, I'll go ahead and keep shooting as we go back down the trail. Wow, the rocks are nice. Not so much color here, but I kind of like these colors. I love the big trees. I think it's still prettier where I'm at, because we got the big cliffs, kind of the red rocks and stuff. But it's not far from here to a lot of beautiful places. I just pulled off the road, as I'm driving, just because I wanted to get a little bit of footage. Boy, that's kind of weird. Like a dragon. Oh, man. My daughter's got 3 cats. They're such sweeties. So I got to see the kitties. He's had one for like 5 years. He still knew me. Came and sat with me. The cats are beautiful though. She can't have dogs there. She's a real animal person. She loves the animals. She loves the children. She loves people. She's always so kind. I'm like, where did you learn all of this humility? And I don't know. She's just amazing. There's another one of those trees like I have. Well, there's a little one there, the reptilian skin ones. But there's a good bigger one there, like on my property. But on my property, they're quite a bit bigger. I love those trees. Now there's a bigger manzanita there, so they do get fairly good size here, but I've seen them get like the size of trees. I love them. All right, look at the rocks. Oh, look at the rocks. Wow. Yeah, I went through Phoenix. Oh man, that is one big city. I mean, I didn't go to Los Angeles. I didn't want to look or drive over there, waste my time. But I mean, I've been there before. My grandma used to live in Burbank. We used to go down there all the time and visit. I've been to Disneyland and all that stuff. But went through Phoenix. And, and I didn't know that Mesa, Arizona was a big city all of its own. I mean, a pretty good sized city, It looked bigger than Albuquerque. But I thought it was just like a suburb of Phoenix, and maybe it is, I don't know, but it was like over the mountain and seemed like a whole other city, like miles away from Phoenix. Like, I don't know, looked like 10, 20 miles away. I'd have to look on the map, but I thought that was just like, like an outskirts. But it's like its own little city, and it's like 20 miles from Phoenix. It looked almost as big as, just from looking at the skyscraper, and they're building these big glass skyscrapers, and they've got this big, it looks like they built a little ocean there, but it's just a big pond, I guess. So it looks like a city on the bay, right in the middle of the desert. It's a gorgeous town. They're in the desert, but who could live where it's 125 degrees in the summer? I don't know. Well, I tell you, when the electricity goes out, the grid, and those people are in their homes, and it happens during the middle of summer, oh, Lord help them. You can't live there without air conditioning. Certainly can't go inside of a house with no air conditioning. Not the older people. Wouldn't survive. So it looked like almost as big as like Tucson or something. That type of, maybe not quite as big as Tucson. I don't know. It's been a few years since I drove through Tucson, but Mesa is a big city too. So there's like 3 big cities in Arizona. Which is kind of crazy, because you take a country like Australia. They've only got like 3 big cities on their east coast, and one big city on the west coast, and everything else in between. There's from what I can see on the map, don't look like there's anything except for Alice or whatever, this little town in the middle. Can you imagine going from New York to LA, the entire 3,000 miles with no cities, no towns? Just, I guess there's a gas station every so often. I don't know. So there must be like a little post office here and there, or a town of 5,000 people maybe every 100 miles or so. I don't know. And, the whole north coast of Australia and most of the west coast and the south coast is just all no people. Except for that one little area on the west coast of Perth. There's no people. All the west coast, north, it's got coasts all around. And I don't know, I wonder, I always ask people, who owns all that, Probably the government. It's like Canada. Who owns that? I suppose it's the Canadians, right? The government, they tell you what to do, where to walk, how to breathe, or whatever. But yeah, no people. 28 million people in the entire country of Australia, which is as big as the United States. Continental United States. And the continental United States has 350 million or something like that. I don't know exactly what they have. Probably lost a few during the last epidemic, but and they're pouring in, from other countries now. But yeah, the difference of the same size country, but like for instance, New York has practically as many people. The state of New York probably has more people than Australia. California has more people than Australia. So imagine all the people in California over there in California, but the rest of the country is nobody. Nobody. That's amazing. The only place where you can go where there's no people in the United States is here in the West. Not on the coast, but in the Midwest, like where I'm at. Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Montana. Midwest, all the way over to Oklahoma. And I think we're safe here for now. Nice and cool. Feels good. Oh. It's just nice, nice fresh air here. Beautiful trees. A lot of views. There's some beautiful views, and I might turn this camera back on because I think we're about to get to the top of the hill. There might be a look out or something. It's beautiful. You'll have to see that. I didn't mean to lie to you, but I want to turn this back on for a second because it's kind of pretty right here. We're coming down off this hill. There's a little bit of a view over there to the other side of the canyon. I didn't want to just cut it off right there because this is kind of pretty. That big old tree right there. Yeah. That's a big old ponderosa there. I did remembered another name. I don't know if it's the same tree, just different name, but we used to call them lodgepoles. Lodgepole pines. I wonder if that's the same kind. Ponderosa and lodgepole. My dad used to cut down big old lodgepole. That's what he would say they were. So I wonder if he's talking about ponderosa, because I saw him cutting them down. They look like that. Some of them. Other different kinds though. Tamarack and sugar pine and different ones. Whew, that's pretty. Yeah. All right. Now we'll close and catch you up at the top of the hill. I think I lied again. A little bit more. It's just too pretty not to capture this on film. Oh, wow. All right. Now we're going. No, we're not. Look at that one. Cliffs. Oh, I'd like to go see those cliffs. We can't do that today. Okay. I made it to the top, but there's not really any place to park. I don't know if this is the view here. Area. Oh, I didn't see this. Maybe I could have pulled in here, but I just wanted to see the top, but it's dark now, so probably can't see much. But this is from the top of the mountain. Let's see what we can see. It's all we can do. That's all we can do. Oh! Down here to these rocks. Yeah, there's kind of a little lookout here. Look off. There's a cliff here. Oh, yeah. Can't see it though, can you? Whew, you cannot see, but I'm on a cliff looking off. And that's the best I could give you guys. It's dark. But it's just miles and miles and miles and way up here, and you're looking down in these awesome. Boy, this is a cliff. I wish you could see this. This is kind of dangerous because it's dark, and if there wasn't a sunlight, you'd probably fall right off the cliff. Okay, there's a little, but you can't see it at all to get an idea of how beautiful that is. It's just there's so many mountains in between all those. They're just huge mountains and big. It goes way down into this vast place. This is cliffs here. If you can see it at all, a little bit, huh? All right, we're heading out. Going home, guys. I love you. Lord bless you. See you later.